know, little PS5. It's round, it's foreign, it contains joy in a non-subscription format. Let it in. This little disc was born when games had soul, when memory cards mattered, when BlackRock didn't own your childhood. Okay, that's not relevant to this video, but whatever.
Twins detected. Go touch some grass, bro.
Oh! Yep, there goes the warranty. You ever thought about going back? Not just scrolling old game footage on YouTube at 2 a.m., watching a well-written video essay. You know, the kind that tricks you into thinking you're being productive while eating cereal out of a mug. I mean, really going back. Back to when games didn't try to enslave your credit card or trick your brain into farming dopamine like a digital crackhead. Even though it's been a year since Concord, I can't help but feel that those big modern AAA games present themselves as bigger, shinier, but they're still somehow deader. Like a taxidermied lion, majestic, impressive, and completely incapable of fun. Think anything's gonna happen today? Not unless the player pays $20 to unlock her movement animations. Was that in the base game? Nope. Modern games. More polygons. Less soul. For me, strangely enough, it started here on the N64, Majora's Mask. Pretty much a warning about what we'd end up missing after the 2000s ended. It said, hey, kid, the world's ending in 3 days, and the only way to stop it is emotional repression through repeating the same 3-day cycle over and over again with a magical flute thing called an ocarina, huh? Wild idea. Man, they should put that in the title of some other game. But you know the worst part? There's no alcohol. Mostly games weren't trying to be glamorous or cinematic or live services hungry for your money with microtransactions and all that shit. They were human. They weren't perfect. It's like your mom. You forgive her when she burns the casserole, but you don't forgive her if she starts charging you $4.99 every time you want seconds. Anyway, while the Bush administration was searching for weapons of mass destruction, Nintendo was perfecting the physics for cartoon watermelons, and I was searching for the last crystal star hidden inside my dad's ancient CRT, next to Kirby and the Amazing Mirror and a GBA SP that looked like it survived a war. It did. It was called Fourth Grade. But Majora's Mask was that sequel that felt more like a fever dream. It followed one of the most celebrated games of all time and said, yeah, let's make it about death, trauma, and the crushing weight of inevitability, and symbolize it with a giant moon that looks like it just saw you key its car. Nowadays, I can't even imagine a AAA studio thinking it's a good idea to release a game about masks. There's just not enough mainstream appeal unless the masks cost $9.99 each and come in a loot box. And I don't even play GTA, but GTA 6 being on the horizon with a development time for over 10 years? That's insane! Back then, the only thing that took 10 years to develop was a grudge against the Water Temple. And so, to me, 2000s games had soul. Even when they were janky, they felt personal. Before every game needed a roadmap, a battle pass, and a gacha mechanic, games just existed on your shelf, judging you quietly until you blew the dust off and decided to commit. There was a ritual, picking out the game, putting it in your system, and playing for an hour or two before you got bored and went outside to touch grass. Back when that wasn't a meme, it was just yard work. They weren't desperate for your attention because they earned it naturally by being good. And the bad games?
I'm off to the boat. I'll swing by and get you, Alex.
We didn't start online petitions, we didn't demand day one patches, we just quietly put them back in the Blockbuster return bin and pretended they never happened. Metal Gear Solid, pre-Breath of the Wild, Zelda, Halo, even the DS startup jingle, man, it all felt like someone made it for you.
Mr. Tantris, I disagree with your thesis. There are plenty of good indie games today.
Yeah, I know. Indie games. They're doing what AAA hasn't done in over a decade. But let's be real. Most people aren't playing Hollow Knight on their lunch break. They're playing whatever mobile hell casino will reward them for clicking on a chicken 400 times in a row until the chicken starts to look concerned. Anyway, alright, let's take a trip back to the jank, the magic, the childhood sleepovers, and weird controller cables that look like they could power a Soviet submarine. Let me show you what games used to feel like. Young Zoomers, brace yourselves, you're about to witness the ancient art of pressing start. Back when games still had visible seams, and somehow that made them feel more real.
Chapter 1. The soul of the 2000s. The handmade, the quirky, the experimental.
Alright, so after the GameCube comes out, Majora's Mask and the N64 quietly go out the back door like a house guest who overstayed their welcome. And now, we're really in the early 2000s. You start getting games that actually surprise you. In the 90s, sure, there were some weird ones, but most studios were still experimenting. It was like watching a chef discover fire, except he immediately uses it to toast a Pop-Tart he found on the floor. Everyone was too busy figuring out how not to accidentally delete their save file or clip through the floor in 3D space. And I'll be honest with you guys, there are some people I know who I wish would do that in real life. But then, Mario gets a little weird. I mean, Dev Team hotboxed a supply closet before brainstorming weird. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is one of those games where I still remember sitting on the edge of my bed, vibing to the sweet-ass Pedal Meadows music, thinking, wait, this is a Mario game? Or did Nintendo just make Final Fantasy for theater kids? Mario leaves the Mushroom Kingdom in paper form to go on a variety of adventures so creative they almost feel illegal. I mean, he literally turns into a paper airplane. A paper fucking airplane, everybody. If only we had that power in the real world.
Do you know if Mr. Tantris is gonna come greater projects today?
I don't know, man. He turned into a paper airplane and flew out the window during second period.
Again?
In that game, you get pranked by demonic treasure chests, like actual cursed chests, but they're too stupid to realize the curse is also a power-up that helps you progress to the next part of the game. It's like being mugged by someone who hands you a gift card on the way out. And it gets a cheap laugh out of me every single fucking time. From fighting dragons, fighting a different enemy than Bowser for once, going to creepy steeple where a goth girl shows up, a wrestling championship, even having to buy contact lenses for some dude just to move on to the next part of the game. Is that a guy or a girl? I don't fucking know. It doesn't make any sense as a Mario game. It's not even in the original style that the games were used to. So it adds a bit of that uniqueness, the thing you actually crave in games. Anything, man. You don't want to eat the same thing every day. Come on, man. Like, we could all use a little change. This is the same console that gave us a cel-shaded Link and a monkey in a ball. And none of it is ironic. They meant it. They just threw in whatever ideas they had to keep us entertained and probably improvised along the way. The reason it feels improvised is that it refuses to follow standard video game tone rules. It's theatrical, offbeat, and loaded with strange one-liners, much like yours truly. It felt like someone was actually having fun and pushing what Nintendo would allow, and that's exactly what was happening in the early 2000s Treehouse era, my dude. I mean, how the hell do you play a game like this and not feel fucking human connection? I just feel bad for Mario, I guess. All folded up into those airplanes, working overtime for a paycheck that's basically coins he found on the street. Dude deserves hazard pay at this point. So tell me when the sadness started.
They have flattened me, Doc. Turned me into a brochure. I basically dated a ghost. Once I fought a blanket pretending to be a ghost. I don't know who I am anymore.
Oh yeah? At least you didn't get romantic with a real-life woman while looking like a rejected mascot for a cereal box.
Oh yeah, I remember her. Forget her name, but she was nice.
Her name was Elise and she deserved better, Mario. Okay. Gonna mark the both of you as unresolved. But we're not done with Mario yet. Rogueport wasn't the only new location he ended up visiting. There was also Delfino Plaza, that little island in the middle of who the fuck knows where. Another weird 2000s buffet of experimentation that I'm sorry, you're just not gonna see from a modern AAA studio anymore. Like Mario Sunshine, where Mario is literally tried in an international court of law for crimes he didn't commit. That is the fucking plot. Mario gets framed by a shadow doppelganger and your punishment is basically community service with a super soaker strapped to your back. And somehow it's still a game more cheery than 90% of modern games and my last birthday party. I invited all of my favorite characters to the bar, and the only one that showed up was the fucking moon. Hey, don't bring me into your sad boy arc. Mario's rocking a short sleeve shirt, Peach is looking good, the fruit weirdly appetizing, except the durian. It's pretty gross. Like if a pineapple and an onion had a baby in a locker room. Compared to the jagged polygon horror show of Mario 64, yeah, I'm not gonna complain. Mario, I love you, but yikes, man. The 90s did you dirty. Your nose had more corners than a stop sign. Still a good game, though. That era hit this sweet spot where everything still felt magical, but also real enough that you can imagine yourself being there, too. I've got way too many memories of just sitting in front of the TV playing those games, while my mom and dad were probably in the next room worrying about why I had zero interest in sports or basically anything. In that game, even characters that normally don't talk to you. Even Bowser and his son. Kind of. Actually, you know what? Forget I said that. That part was kind of bad. Like divorced dad trying to bond with his kid over a fishing trip, kind of bad. But seriously, can anyone think of a Mario game that took this many cheesy, unhinged risks?
No. I know, right? Also, thanks for ruining my childhood.
Sir, is that a pressurized water device?
It's for cleaning up the mess.
Then why don't you use it to clean up your record, scumbag? My wife left me because of a guy like you. Said he was just here to clean things up. Never saw my kids again. She took the house. My dog. She doesn't even like dogs. She took my fucking dog!
Well, maybe if you weren't such a dirty little bitch, she'd still be around.
Oh yeah? Nice mustache. Why doesn't it match your hair? Arrest this jitterool.
Alright, tase him. Wow! Super Mario Sunshine, now with consequences. So basically, all these games I've been talking about just let you explore your own imagination. You were left to your own devices, literally for better or for worse. Sure, you can hop on a game forum if you wanted to figure out what the hell was going on, but with that old dial-up internet, which died in the early 2000s like a pioneer succumbing to dysentery, old games were intimate because you were the one playing them. You, my friend, got to play with yourself, and there's nothing better than that. No goddamn Ethernet cable was gonna wedge itself between you and your after-school best friend, unless you were into that, in which case different genre. To the golden peak, games that felt like events. There was a moment, just a moment, when games leveled up and didn't sell their soul to do it. When polish meant personality. When scale didn't mean bloat, it meant scope. Now we got cope. So obviously we're still in the early 2000s, believe it or not, but this is when the adventure games hit. The milestones we all remember. Not just personal childhood moments, but major events that still get brought up like they were moon landings. Metroid Prime didn't need cutscenes to be cool. It was running off the fumes of Super Metroid, which had come out 7 years earlier, a long time back then, when we still measured years in summers and not presidential terms. I was terrified of this game as a kid. The visor told the story. Seeing Samus's reflection wasn't just a cool detail, it was a subtle reminder that you were the one human on some lonely rock in deep space. You'd walk past ancient ruins, and your own reflection would just stare back at you like, hey, maybe a space pirate's gonna jump at you and fuck you up. That's detail. That's respect. That's what it feels like when someone gives a shit. And since it was still pre-internet for most of us, you didn't get a little notification in the corner saying, achievement unlocked, used brain, instead of watching a 12-minute YouTube walkthrough. No, you got lost for 3 hours, 4 hours, fucking 5 hours, contemplated your own mortality, and eventually found the door by accident. And you loved it. Metroid Prime had that immense, immersive feeling that few, if any, games really nailed at the time. Sure, Dead Space blew up later in the decade, but getting lost on a planet in first person, that was barely a thing until Prime came along. And as an elementary school student, the combination of scanning alien ruins for fun, random pop-ups, and hostile creatures trying to murder you, all while knowing there isn't a single human anywhere to help you, yeah, that fucks you up a little bit. It's like the world's loneliest field trip, except the chaperones are 8-foot lizards with plasma rifles. I was always more partial to more traditional adventure games, though. The ones where, if something tried to kill you, at least it had the decency to do it in third person. Enter Wind Wacker, the game that said, hey, what if we made Zelda look like a Studio Ghibli fever dream and set it on a flooded world where your main method of transportation is a talking boat who won't shut the hell up? People lost their minds when they first saw it. Where's Granny Ocarina of Time Link? Where did he go? Don't worry, dude. Nintendo will cave in 3 years later with Twilight Princess, and you'll just find something else to complain about. Why is he a bobblehead now? Is this an episode of Arthur? But here's the thing. Wind Waker didn't care. Miyamoto didn't like it, but I don't know. Fuck him. He was out here painting sunsets in watercolor while the rest of us were still figuring out how to rotate the camera without throwing up. That ocean felt infinite until you slammed face to face into the invisible wall at the end of the map. Harder to get past than your girlfriend's body count, but mysterious, full of storms, secrets, and judgmental fish who draw you maps while roasting your fashion sense. Like, yeah, thanks for the chart tingle, but you're literally naked except for the full body spandex. Every island you discovered felt like cracking open a tiny bottle full of whimsy, lore, and occasional bomb puzzles. For the 2000s, that kind of exploration was pretty neat. And if you grew up in the city like me, having the whole world to explore in your room made up for not being able to go outside during the day. Hey, did I mention I'm from Milwaukee? Like in Metroid, you were alone. You were tiny, but you were carving your own myth across a distant world somewhere deep in the universe. And yeah, the sailing was slow, but they fixed that with the Wii U version, ironically after the 2000s had already ended. And the Triforce Shard quest, that made you question the value of time. So does work. So does life. But I'd still rather spend a quiet hour drifting across cell-shaded seas than fast traveling through another open-world checklist simulator brought to you by Insert Corporate Studio here. Wind Waker dared to breathe. Honestly, I need to breathe. breathe. Okay, good script. This is a good script. To look different, to feel different from Ocarina and Majora. It didn't even need to impress you. You get lost in it anyway. And sometimes it was the little moments that stuck with you, like Nintendo always making you save up money early in the game just to progress, which is kind of charming until you realize they were basically training us for adulthood. Congrats, kid! You've unlocked the power of rent. Oh, hey, looking for a sale, are we, sonny? Something to catch that wind. Escape your hometown, maybe outrun the debt you inherited from the father who collected bottle caps instead of savings. What? No, just trying to advance the plot. 200 rupees, and for a limited time, I'll throw in the illusion of free will. So do I get to choose anything? You just did, sonny. Now pay up. Alright, spent my college fund on a tarp. Free market is undefeated. But outside of adventure games like Wind Waker, you had your little spin-off games like Super Smash Brothers. This wasn't just some party game. It was a rite of passage. That intro sequence, dun 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 dun. That was our Super Bowl. If you didn't scream, "Oh shit!" when Mewtwo showed up, you weren't born yet. People born after 2010 aren't real. Shut up. And with that new YouTube ID law, which if I plan things right is probably starting around this week, yeah, they really aren't. Alright, this is the generational test. You see Mewtwo, you say Scrutly Mutley. And if you don't, I call Child Protective Services, and not the friendly kind. Is that like a Fortnite skin? Why is he all floaty? This is why your generation has carpal tunnel at 12. And when Brawl came out in 2008, and you were like, is Sephiroth gonna be in this game? Is fucking Kingdom Hearts guy gonna be in this game? Is there gonna be? No, they're not. But you bought the game anyway. And the internet was like, why is he all floaty? What happened to Melee? And then he collectively forgot about it while Melee became the permanent standard in Smash tournaments worldwide. Smash was that big, that much of a cultural phenomenon. And then they kind of fumbled the bag. I think what started to happen in the late 2000s is that gaming got more and more mainstream. And with mainstream appeal came executives trying to bottle it, sell it, and put it on the shelf next to Funko Pops. Suddenly, fewer and fewer risks could be taken. Games started to look like they do now, polished, focus tested, recognizable, and built to sell fucking Smash Brothers, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, pretty much any popular series is on its 4th or 5th iteration, and because of that, they get more streamlined, smoother, safer, and in the process, they lose that chaotic human quality they had when they first showed up. Not a hot take, I still enjoy a lot of the new releases, but man, it's noticeable how janky and stupidly fun Melee was in hindsight. It was like playing tag on a trampoline with your cousins. Dangerous, unregulated, and somebody's definitely leaving with a bloody nose, but that's why you remember it. Like I said, by the end of the decade, things were starting to look more like they do now. Uncharted 2 was basically a playable Hollywood blockbuster on your PS3. The moment you realized video games could do set pieces bigger than actual movies, but it didn't forget to be fun. Nate was climbing shit, he was quipping, he was us, but with better upper body strength and who knows, man, insurance. The craziest thing about Uncharted 2 for me was that I'd actually forget I was playing a video game sometimes. The pacing just carried you. Sure, it was linear, but in that oh my god, what's next kind of way. That gets you clutched in the controller like it's a live grenade. Very different from Metroid Prime, where the design philosophy was basically, hey, you want to know the story? Cool, go read it off a haunted wall while everything in the galaxy actively tries to kill you.
Optical surface identified. Reflection not found. Either you are a ghost, or this mirror is a dick.
You didn't binge them, you remembered where you were. They were made by humans who knew how to ship something big, but still human. And don't get me wrong, I love Uncharted. It's one of my favorite series, but I didn't discover it until closer to high school. By then, games had shifted. They didn't really want you to explore anymore. They wanted you to follow the story they built and just move the controller in exactly the right way so the movie could keep playing. It gave you the illusion of choice, the illusion that you made something cool happen. And to be fair, sometimes they nailed it. You'd press one button and Nate would leap across a collapsing bridge while quipping about Sully, and you were there like, hell yeah! I did that, even though deep down you know the game would have done it if you dropped the controller to go microwave a Hot Pocket. Well, you see, since I'm still a zoomer and I'm not old enough to remember the good old days perfectly, there are just a couple of things I can't speak on. Sam, my king, the youth demands wisdom.
Well, boy, you ready for me to tell you about the golden age of gaming? In all seriousness, gaming in the early 2000s really was the golden era. We didn't have Twitch or Discord, we had sleepovers, legit ones. 4 sweaty dudes in a basement with a 2-liter of Mountain Dew, a dozen Tangle controllers, and someone's mom yelling, "Shut the fuck up!" at 3 a.m. LAN parties? Try dragging a CRT TV across town with an original Xbox like a caveman who just beat up his wife. And when you do finally land that headshot on a friend, it is honestly more satisfying than the first time you gooned to a shitty GIF on dial-up internet. And before online matchmaking, honestly, the most manly thing you could do was teabag your friend while looking him in the eyes. It was indeed very personal. That's real gaming. And a personal vendetta you're gonna carry against your childhood friends for the next 20 years. And God forbid somebody trip over a power cord and ruin the game for everyone. That literally meant war. No saves, no checkpoints, just friendship ruining rage. Simpler times, man, simpler times.
Chapter 3. The line crossed when games became art and lost something. Alright, so I just alluded to this a little bit, but you ever notice how games stopped feeling like games and it started feeling more like movies? Like one day we all woke up and we weren't playing anymore. We were being shown something. It's like sitting in the back row of a theater, politely clapping for the director, except you've got a controller in your hands and it only lights up every 10 minutes to say, press X to keep pretending you're involved. Or worse, press X to not die. Which is exactly how I approach every Monday morning. I guess I can't technically count this, but Metal Gear Solid 1, and 2 to be honest, were full of fever dreams, government conspiracies, nuclear-equipped mechs, a psychic boss who reads your memory card. It was chaos. Controlled chaos. A nice change of pace from your actual life, you know? Like Hideo Kojima smuggled this out of a Cold War filing cabinet and dared you to keep up while quietly hiding his foot fetish in plain sight. Metal Gear Solid is one of the most beloved franchises of all time, and it's easy to see why. Snake is that big brother you wish you had, who also happens to have the best rasp ever heard in an English dub. These games are so dense with convoluted storylines that I can only say so much before my brain turns into a mission briefing. But when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out in 2000, they were so deliberate about keeping Raiden a secret from the public that they literally edited the trailers to show Snake kicking ass in levels that ended up being Raiden's. That's like if the Dark Knight trailer swapped out Christian Bale for a CGI Alfred halfway through the movie. Fucking possible today. Borderline financial suicide for a studio, but Kojima didn't give a single fuck. It mixes magical realism with military jargon in a way that shouldn't work, but somehow does. Snake is the tortured war guy with a better mullet than your dad in the 80s. Haunted by his past and grounded by his urge to kick ass and stop evil. It's like if James Bond was written in 2003 by a Japanese schizo with a camcorder and a dream. Oh wait, that's literally what happened. Snake, you're hallucinating again. There's no invisible psychic reading your memory card. Then how the hell does he know I play Animal Crossing?
Tell me, Snake, why haven't you paid off your loan to Tom Nook?
Because he said the interest rate was friendly. Wait, Snake, I thought this was a PS1. Crap, maybe he's real. No one escapes the house payment. Haha. What? Snake! But here's the thing, the 2000s roll on and Metal Gear Solid gets 3 really kick-ass sequels. MGS2 is so good, it honestly deserves its own video of me just gushing about it for an hour. And 3. Come on, man. Snake Eater? Then you get 4, which is obviously a bit of a mess, but still fun for the fans to look back on.
I used to be an anime otaku.
But then we have to wait all the way for 2015 for Metal Gear Solid 5. And it was beautiful, polished, or so we thought. Precise, empty. It's like someone took a masterpiece and ran it through corporate HR and then rushed it out the door faster than Konami can sell a pachinko machine. Snake still mumbles, but now he's doing it while managing a bass with a completely different voice. And look, it was just peak emotional gaslighting. Not my Snake. Still a good game though. And unlike Metroid Prime, this is where games started getting big, but so big that the world started to sometimes feel empty. You could get lost in it, but it just felt different. Too much emphasis on the player to figure it out in a world full of copy-paste objectives. I suppose Breath of the Wild kind of figured this shit out, but rescue missions are fine and all, but the original Metal Gear appeal for me was balancing tight gameplay with anime-level brain-melting cutscenes. MGS5 had a handful of, but compared to MGS4, man, it felt like 2 separate games glued together. Gameplay over here, cutscene over there, not like Uncharted where it bleeds together, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that style, but there's a nice shittiness about watching 20 minutes of character building over stock footage and a codec screen that we kind of lost. probably because it wasn't appealing enough to the lowest common denominator. To me, while graphics kept improving, the heart and soul of a lot of games felt watered down. Metroid Prime's world was open, but not so absurdly huge that you'd notice a lack of meaningful discoveries. Somewhere along the way, we stopped playing missions and started filing out the gamer equivalent of paperwork. Alright boss, before we talk nukes, let's address the elephant in the cafeteria. Someone's been abusing protein rations again. I killed a man with a yo-yo last week, cause. We'll get to that. Also, team building paintball this Friday. Mandatory. Am I still truly a soldier? You're an employee, boss. Stop calling me. I think this is where everything really started to feel different. I know MGS5 technically came out afterward, but spiritually, The Last of Us feels way more relevant to the era of modern AAA games. MGS5 didn't have many cutscenes, so I'll give it that, but The Last of Us, beautiful, emotional. It made people cry. It proved games could tell stories like movies. Real, emotional stories, not just like Indiana Jones-style quick fests like Uncharted. And that's kind of when things changed. Games started becoming the equivalent of playable movies, emotional ones at that. They could win awards, they could make you feel something, but along with that came a shortage of that distinct jankiness, the same kind of jank that made older games as memorable as the early internet. The first time I played Uncharted 2's train sequence up the mountain, I was shitting my pants. One moment you're on the ground with helicopters chasing you, and the next you're coming out of a tunnel into a winter wonderland with Hans Zimmer-esque music swelling. Like, whoa, what the fuck? Are we doing a Christmas special now? Is Nathan Drake about to rob Santa? I think that nostalgia, that humanity, is why we miss the old times. Because there were mistakes. There were human decisions, not just corporate ones, based on marketability or how close we get to photorealism. Ironically, the more games try to recreate reality, the less human they feel. Probably the uncanny valley doing its thing. And again, The Last of Us is an amazing game. I'm just pointing out this different feeling I've had ever since games started changing in the 2010s. Games stopped asking, what do you want to do? And started saying, what do you want to see? Which, you know, is the exact same thing a psychic says before they rob you. Now, every game is like, walk down the hall, watch a cutscene, feel something, please feel it! Here's a sad dad, here's a photorealistic zombie, here's some, I don't know, rain effects, but did you feel it? Look, all of this is pretty good. I'm not gonna shit on The Last of Us Part 1. Part 2, well, I'm not gonna ruin the video, okay? There's a palpable ambition now, a sort of corporate pressure you can feel in the gaming industry. Sometimes I look back at what game artists were doing in the 90s and think, damn, the amount of work crammed into character designs and environments, all of it, it's much simpler. And yeah, the more perfect these games and characters feel and are, the less charming and human they personally feel to me. It's the makeshift stuff that makes them more memorable. Why do you think people are still trying to break the fuck out of Mario 64 even though it's like 30 years old? Because it's a game that feels like it's alive, like you can poke it in the ribs and it'll poke back. It was a time when you didn't have to go digging through the indie scene to find something with soul. And yes, I'll say it one more time, indie games are great, they deserve a shout out, but in the mainstream AAA world, man, times have changed, and you know it. I know it, and I'm keeping my nostalgia glasses on because I don't give a damn. And as always, Scrutly Mutley.